go. Podcasting time. Glenn Power from Powerworks Garage. He is here because this is the Powerworks Podcast. I'm James Piecowye. I'm from Zide University. What do I know?
Just from university.
Yeah, so throwing the university there gives me some credibility.
Only a professor. I don't know anything.
Yeah, I really don't know much. But I know enough to get my car fixed at Powerworks. It's as simple as that. But wherever you're watching or listening to us, whether this be on YouTube or you're finding us through Google or Spotify, 100.3 in Dubai, you're trapped in your car and you've got us, that is a pleasant way to be trapped. You're caught in traffic on the Sheikh Zayed Road, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Road, Bypass Road, whatever road it is, we're your company for the next hour, and it's great to be here with everybody. Our goal is simple. We want to help you understand cars, what's going on in the automotive industry, and not get ripped off when you take your vehicle to get repaired. As simple as that. That is our goal. I think we're succeeding.
Well,
well,
you don't know.
All I know is that when people have car issues, they call me, which means
you're doing something right. Then,
so at least they've got now an outlet. They're saying, okay, James will know someone who knows. So I instantly send stuff off to you and DJ. That's it. I was like, I'm just going to DJ. And in fact, I had one colleague drives a Mercedes A230. Does that number sound like it makes sense?
250.
Okay, could be 250, 280, maybe 250. One of those. It kind of looks like a little Volkswagen Scirocco-ish kind of thing, but a little bit bigger. It's a weird car, actually. I've never been in it, but just looking at it, it's kind of like, why? You know, and I nothing against anyone who's driving one of these, because I know you love it, but it did make me go, why? It was one of those. I guess there's a niche that it fills. I don't know.
They went after the golf market, I think.
Yeah. So, person's got this car, says, "Oh, I gotta get my tires looked at. I found this little nick in the sidewall," and so shows me a picture of it. And so the preface to that conversation was, I talked to my friend in the UK and they said, don't worry, just keep your eye on it, but you should be okay. So as soon as someone says, don't worry, keep your eye on it, should be okay. And I don't know who the friend is, and I trust that friend is knowledgeable. I took a look at it and I know nothing. And instantly the alarm bells are going off in my head because I'm going, whoa, no way. It's like, that is not good.
Yeah.
But what? And so there's a piece of the tire sidewall missing where the tire connects with and kisses up against the rim.
Yeah.
But what really grabbed my attention when they showed me a picture of the sidewall where this piece is missing is what looks like rubber cement is in place, which made me think when these tires were bought, they were already damaged, or some point in the life of these tires when they were balanced or something happened that a piece of the tire was pulled off and someone glued it back in place, because there's clearly rubber cement there. And I'm just going, so I sent it to DJ because I'm thinking, now you got to get new ones, but no one trusts me. Send it to DJ right away. He goes, yeah, look, you can see the bead.
Yeah, see the cords of the bead.
Yeah, you can see the cord. So these tires have to be repaired. At which point, I'm looking at the tires in the make, and I'm going,
ouch.
Yeah, we're looking at, if you go like for like, we're like 1,000 dirhams a tire.
Plus.
Yeah. And I'm just kind of going.
But that's the only thing connecting you to the road.
Exactly. What worried me was that somebody at some point would have glued the piece on.
We see it all the time.
And it wasn't even like it was hard to notice it, because the rubber cement was a little more gray than the black of the tire.
Yeah.
That scares me.
Yeah. And the worst thing is that, if it was like someone's used some chewing gum or super glue, you could probably say that's the owner of the car that's done that.
Yeah.
But the fact that it looked like it was vulcanized rubber cement meant that it was probably a tire shop that did it.
Yeah.
Somebody that's supposed to know what they're doing. And it's unfortunate. I mean, sometimes you have to refuse to do things. Sometimes you just have to say, but we're in the business of fixing cars, which means we have to make a profit out of fixing someone's car.
Yeah.
To pay salaries and pay bills and stay open. But sometimes you have to say, I can't do that. And that would have been one of those times. It's like, well, you got a chunk out of your tyre, you need a new tyre. Oh, can you just stick it back on? Okay. I mean, where did that come from?
I actually wondered if it wasn't a mistake that happened in the garage. Maybe they were balancing, maybe they were doing something on the rim. Somehow it got caught on something, and it was like, oh, I don't want to show this to the customer. I'm just going to glue it in place. They'll never notice.
Yeah, even worse.
I don't know. But they didn't seem to know that it was there. It caught them by surprise. So I thought, well, yikes.
Yeah,
yikes.
the problem is now tyres, a lot of, even the sort of entry-level Chinese cars that you can buy for $10,000, they have alloy wheels on with low-profile tyres.
Yeah.
And you only have to catch them on the curb at the right sweet spot, and you can rip them straight off the rim. So, we had a Range Rover that came in. Was it 2 weeks ago, Friday, and the lady had taken a exit onto a service road and just misjudged it and clipped the curb doing about 15 kilometres an hour.
How many?
In traffic.
50 or
15 in traffic.
Well, okay, that's slow. But
And she'd ripped the whole suspension out of the car.
Oh no!
The wheel was just dragging on the road and everything. She wasn't, and we knew she wasn't going fast.
Yeah,
because the tyre was fine.
Yeah. But it ripped the whole suspension out.
The whole suspension went. But then on the opposite end of that spectrum, we've had people that we've again know that they weren't going fast because they're parked in a parallel parking spot on the side of the road, and they've hit the curb at the perfect angle.
Right. Yeah.
And the tyre's ripped off the rim and it's flat.
Yeah.
So, it's sometimes it's bad luck, sometimes it's bad driving, but either way, you've really got to be careful. I mean, even to the point where you go over things on the road, maybe you hit a speed bump that you didn't see, or you go over, there's a few potholes now in Dubai after the rains.
Yeah.
Which we didn't used to have. There's always a piece of tyre on the road from a blown out trailer. So there's always something that you could potentially go over. And if you do go over anything at any kind of speed, it's always worth asking someone to check your tyres afterwards, because you might not notice, but the cords that I think DJ showed me the picture and he said, oh no, that needs changing. You can see the cords. So there are cords in the tyre which are basically the skeleton of the tyre, and some of them are steel. And basically very thin steel wire. So I guess if everyone could imagine a wire coat hanger. If you get a wire coat hanger and bend it to any kind of degree, it remains in that shape. Effectively, if you do that with a tyre, there's only so much flex and strength in the rubber that can pull that back out. So if you bend it to a certain degree where it wants to hold its shape, what happens then is as the rubber tries to pull it back out, you end up with a void. And that void becomes then a weak spot. So then you end up with an egg on the side of the tyre, effectively a bulge, where the air pressure has forced itself through that void and popped the side of the tyre out. That tyre then is a ticking time bomb, really.
Yeah.
That's got zero. There's no reliability to it. You could not predict its failure, but it will happen.
There must be a lot of tire issues right now, because as I was driving over here to Powerworks Garage, by the way, I'm here with Glenn Power. As I was driving over to your place, we're in the pop-up studio in the back of the garage. So by the way, if you do hear horns, pneumatic drills and hammers and wrenches and who knows what.
Cursing.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Just ignore it. Just ignore it. We are literally in the garage recording this podcast. So, but driving by one of the tire shops that is in this area in Alcouz, it's full of garages and things. They got a lot of tires out front that are either, I want to say they're new, but something's off about them. So I think there is some new, but I think there are also some loaner tires. It's that season again, I guess.
Yeah. It's this time of year is getting increasingly by the day more harsh on vehicles and particularly tyres. And then you've also got the fact that because of the sort of demographic and the population we're in, a lot of people that move here to then move away will do so around the school year.
Right.
So the school academic year here will end in about 4-5 weeks, something like that. 5 weeks, something. So then you've got, July and August, that's when people leave. So typically what happens are those people that leave will sell their cars. So then those cars get purchased in the July and August time, and then they're due for registration every single year. And because of the rules on tyres here and the job that the RTA and trying to do with the safety of making sure people's tires are capable of dealing with the road
And that
conditions.
is something they do pay a lot of attention to.
Yeah. So, but because of that, if you, like you said, that A250, you could spend 4,000 dirhams on tires easily.
Yeah.
Without even trying, just putting the OE tire on it.
It's not even my car, and I was shedding a tear. I just looked. I said I couldn't do it.
We had an R8 in for tires last week, and that was just for 2 tires, and that was nearly 6K.
I couldn't do it.
I mean, I understand there's levels to everything.
Yeah.
Someone owning a Yaris and someone owning an R8, there's a difference, but it's still 6K, and that's 2 tires. And then you've got this, so then, like you've alluded to there, you only get 5 years. If a tire gets to 5 years old, the RTA will tell you it's not fit for use, so you have to change them.
In this weather, I mean, it's already summer. Those who are listening to us from around the world, if you're in North America, Miami's got the hottest temperatures it's had ever in May. We're also up there again here. It seems to be summer's come a month early, so it's also warm. In these warm weather climates, I think things don't last as long. The tires, because they get soft, because of the roads that are hot. If you get 3 years out of a set of tires, I think you're doing really good. If you're driving it regularly. Yeah,
I mean, you can look into what happens. Obviously, they're severely impacted by the heat of the road. The road surfaces get over 60 degrees C easily.
Yeah,
easily.
Just try walking on them without shoes and socks, and you'll see.
Very, 60, 70 probably. And then you've got the fact that they then stop and cool down. The air temperature is maybe you drive home from work at 5 o'clock in the evening, the tires get up to 60, 65, 70, then you stop, the air temperature's 30, you might, wash the car or even worse, so then they cool down even quicker. And that happens day in, day out, day in, day out. Then you might have to park them in the sun, and then you've got the degenerative effect of the sunlight and the radiation from that. So these things, the RTA telling you you've got 5 years, I don't think anyone would really say anything if they said 3.
Yeah,
to be honest, it's very often we don't. It's not very often, that we get a car that's got a tire on it that's more than 3 years old.
They start to crack. You just start looking at them.
Yeah, they are out there. We do see them, but like you said, then you've got this whole situation where, I mean, let's say, for example, somebody owns a Mercedes A250. Let's say that the car is 3 years old and they bought it secondhand, and they've taken a finance deal on it. So they're paying X amount of money every month on it. And then all of a sudden, they've got to renew their insurance, pay for the re-registration, do the test. That could be over 2,000 dirhams. But then when they take it for test, they fail the test because it's all of a sudden needs a tyre, or 2 tyres, or 3 or 4 tyres. Well, they can't afford that. So then people do what we've heard and seen in the past, where they'll go to a tyre shop and they'll lend them some wheels and tyres to put on the car to get it through the test, and then come back and take them off and put their old ones back on. But how irresponsible is that? It's mad that it happens. Like you're putting everyone else, including yourself, who, as a road user, at risk by allowing someone's vehicle on the road that's unsafe. Like if I have your car in change and tell you, look, there's a safety issue on your car, I'm telling you because I don't want you to have an accident or cause an accident, but I also drive home. My kids are in a car driving from school. Your wife's driving a car. My wife's driving a car. Everyone's friends and family driving cars. So I'm not just stopping you from having a problem. I'm protecting everybody else as well. And by doing the opposite of that and allowing you to try and being part of you trying not to fix a car because you don't have the money to do it, which we all understand and empathize with. But I'm putting myself and everyone else in danger. And that's a genuine... That's how we were taught, and that's what safety concerns. That's how they were expressed and taught to us in the UK when we did our training. It was the same for DJ.
Yeah,
I got it, and it's not the immediate vehicle and the vehicle that they're using. The person using that vehicle. It's the actual rest of the road network. Everyone on that network.
I'm noticing a lot more breakdowns right now. A lot more people at the side of the road, overheating and other things. But it's got. You notice when the summer temperatures have arrived because there's an instant tick up in crashes, breakdowns, and just miserable people on the roads because it's hot and things.
Yeah. The worst one is when you see someone sat in traffic and they've got the windows down.
Oh, I saw 2 of those this morning.
It's like AC not working.
Yeah. In fact, there's one, but it was a really cool little car. Mercedes-Benz. I don't know. I was close enough. Maybe I can even look. I took a picture of it. I was so enamored with this thing. It's a 280 CE.
Okay, yeah.
But it's this nice looking machine, but
he got no AC.
He's got no AC.
Yeah, it looks nice. It probably doesn't smell nice.
And I got close enough, and then he needed to cut in, so he cut in front of me and gave me the wave. So a nice, polite guy driving it. But what caught my attention with that thing, I'd say that's about a 1980,
82, something like that. Yeah,
1982. And what caught my attention was what's it got over the wheel wells? Because as I was driving in, all I was thinking about as I was looking at car after car, because I'm now starting to see a few new Kias out on the road and a new this and that, mostly rentals.
Yeah.
But there are a few out there. And around the Kias and things, the body trim packages that a lot of these cars have now have got really black, a nice black finish around. Well, this thing had chrome. This 280 CE had chrome winglets over top of the wheel wells. And I just went, and they were all shiny. So someone had spent the time.
Someone's had the Brillo pads and the Brasso out, haven't they?
Yeah. I just went, oh man. But he didn't have the windows up. He was driving it, true style. Good on him.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's no denying that the fact that temperatures are rising year on year, I guess, and for what seems like a long time to a human being, so 40 years, I remember coming here 12 years ago, and the guy I came to work for telling me that his first car when he moved here in 76 had no AC, and his wife was a nurse in a hospital and used to drive 20, 30 kilometers a day in a car with no AC, and it was fine. No one ever...
Yeah.
You sort of looked at the other cars with AC and thought, oh, I bet that's nice, but just carried on. And I understand that 50 years almost have passed and it's hotter now than it was then. But there's also the fact that, man, once you've had AC in a car, you can't not have it.
Yeah, that's it. You're done for, and that's it.
Yeah.
I'm really liking AC, even in the winter. Not that I'm using it for cooling, but as you've always mentioned, dehumidifying a vehicle. So when it's rainy out and it's wet and you've got your AC going, but you've got it turned up, it's dehumidifying.
Yeah. I mean, we've just talked about people trying to skimp on tires, and like the most crazy safety issue on a car can be driving it with bad tires.
Yeah.
But people will drive with bad tires. People will drive with brake pads worn out, metal on metal. They'll do it, but they will not drive with no AC.
Yeah. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah. I'd rather have an accident and be cool about it than sweat.
This is the thing. Brake pads, generally speaking, aren't really that expensive. Like you go into a tire shop, they can do your brakes for you.
Yeah. I mean, anyone can.
I mean, you could probably do them yourself if
Yeah.
But people will drive with the metal. I hear them metal on metal.
Yeah.
It's like, that's got to be. You're not. You can feel it tugging when you're stopping.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure, because you can see the judder.
Yeah. And the problem with that, the problem with putting brake pads off is that brake pads are inexpensive. Take the R8 as an example. We can get brake pads on those things for the back, Borg and Beck make. So the dealer on about 3,000 dirhams for them, but we can get them same exact, but made by Borg and Beck with an OE license, and we can get them for less than half that.
Wow.
But we can't get the discs.
Okay.
And if you go metal to metal with the pad to the disc, you need discs, and those discs are 6,000-7,000 each.
Yeah.
So even converting that to the sort of universal dollar, that's $2,000 a disc.
Yeah.
So that's, some people drive cars that are worth less than the discs on that, and that's just because you haven't changed the pads when you've been recommended to change them, or you've missed out on an opportunity to be told to tell them by not taking them in.
Yeah. I think one of the things that always gets me with car repairs, and I think this is the one that you've got people taking a deep breath when Justin here at the garage calls them up and says, okay, here's your bill. Here's the estimate. And he'll send it through. I mean, I like Justin does this over here at Powerworks Garage. He'll send it through on a WhatsApp. And it's always, okay, take a deep breath.
Yeah, scrolling down slowly till they get to the figure.
Is it at the end? Here we go. Okay.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think everyone forgets about is the labor. And, the parts might not be super expensive, but it's going to take you 6 hours to do the job. Well, there's a trained technician who's going to be doing that, and they have to get paid too.
Yeah.
And they're working in the garage that needs to pay to keep itself going. And so that almost doubles your bill.
Yeah. And there are very...
And you know this more than anyone because you're the one who's getting people looking at you sideways. Come on.
I mean, if you take, for example, use the Wrangler as your car as an example. Let's say the torque converter seal decided it was going to leak.
Oh, that's pretty good. That doesn't.
I've got to take the gearbox out.
Yeah.
The seal itself is a few hundred dirhams, but it's going to take me 8 hours to do it. So the seal's a few hundred dirhams, but the labour's over 1,000.
Yeah.
For the sake of a very minuscule part. Same, something like an evaporator for an AC system. We just mentioned ACs. You can get copies. You can get really cheap evaporators that will do a job for someone that's, trying to save money, and we understand everybody's in the same boat. You can get those for a few hundred dirhams. But the labour's 2 days. You've got to take the dashboard and seats and all those carpets and all that sometimes out, and then you've got to put it all back in.
Yeah.
So for a few hundred dirham part, you've then got 2,000-3,000 dirhams in labour, and this is where, and obviously parts are still subject to they're subject to inflation more so than labour charges, to be fair, because I'm sure it's the same for everywhere else. We try not to pass on so we have to try and look after our staff as best as we physically can without putting the company out of business. Yeah. But if we give somebody a pay rise, I can't call you, James, and say, look, James, I know you usually pay this per hour, but I'm going to have to charge you more because I've given Ali and Wahid a pay rise today. It's like, you can't. So you resist it and resist it and resist it. But labour does go up.
Yeah.
Labour charges do increase. And when I came 12 years ago, the place I went to work for was $180 an hour, and when I'd been there a couple of years, they put it up to 200. They're now like 250, I think now. So that's not anywhere near as big as the increase in parts prices. Right. I mean, if you'd be a great case study. You'd be a great case study for Jeep Wrangler ownership in the UAE, wouldn't you? Like if you went back, I'm sure you've got most of it. If you went back and looked at all your paperwork from 2008-9 when you bought the cars till your most recent build, you'll have had replications and duplications of the part. You'll have probably changed some parts 4 and 5 times.
Yeah.
You look at the cost, exponential growth in some cases.
Yeah.
And that's on a Wrangler where there's not overly complicated electronics. So you start to talk about things like VW group cars and Mercedes and BMWs. The electronic parts on them is frightening how expensive they've got.
The electronic parts are what worry me. And what bemuses me is, you ever left your phone in your car in the heat? I mean, this could be anywhere in the world. It doesn't have to be here.
Yeah.
But you leave your phone in the car, you come in, it's got a heat warning, it's turned off.
Yeah.
Cars are full of electronics that are in the heat. How are they surviving?
Yeah. I mean, obviously with the with the phone, obviously the battery inside isn't helping, but you're right, because it doesn't take much to affect, and heat is such a massive effect on electronic circuits. Huge. The resistance of a circuit is massively impacted by temperature, and it's like you say, the more expensive the vehicle, obviously, typically that's because there's more on it.
Yeah.
And you think about every time they release a new S-Class or E-Class and the ridiculous things that they put on them that you can't even imagine. The Mercedes, when they release an E-Class or an S-Class, they put stuff on it where you think, I don't want that. Why do I need that? But then 2-3 years later, everyone's got it, and you can't imagine cars without them.
Yeah.
They put sat-nav and voice control and all this sort of stuff on cars where, automatic fragrance dispensers, AC with filtration, people think you don't need that, but now everyone's got it.
Exactly.
So all these things cost money. There's cost of development, there's cost of production, there's cost of installation, and there's cost of maintenance as well.
Which I think people don't factor in the maintenance enough.
Yeah.
Anyone, you're buying a used car, you're buying a new car, I think that's got to be the number one thing. And new cars, we don't really think about it too much because, it's got warranty or you've got a service package for the first year or two. But you really still need to be aware of what it's costing to fix this thing because that's going to help you decide, am I keeping this after warranty or am I going to unload it, 6 months or 9 months before the warranty expires? You got to make an educated decision.
That is the most answered question here that we give to a question that's answered the least. We'll do a pre-purchase inspection on a vehicle and tell the customer 9 times out of 10 what this maintenance and service will cost on that vehicle without them having to ask us, because
what's their reaction
they don't think.
Yeah.
What's
their reaction when you give them that figure?
It depends what it is. If it's a Mini or a Jaguar, they sort of fall off the chair usually. But we're not. What kind of job are we doing if we do an inspection on a car and tell you that's in good condition today and it seems like it's been well looked after? We've spoken in the past, but we always tell people check the accident history with the police and the government and check that there's a service history with it. If the service history is incomplete in any way on a modern car, don't bother with it. It's not worth it.
Yeah, it's easily the first 3-4 years.
Why am I going to charge you 300 dirhams to check a car that we don't know about its past? I'm going to do myself a disservice because I'm going to miss something potentially that I can't see inside. I don't strip an engine down.
Right.
So what am I going to do with that? But I'm also wasting your time and money. I'm going to tell you it's okay, but it's never been serviced, so take it away, bring me another one. Well, that just looks like I'm canvassing, basically, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So when we charge somebody for checking a car, they're asking us to check it to see whether they're going to be okay owning it. But we don't want to take 300 dirhams off you and then 6 weeks later you bring it in and it needs an oil leak fixing, or you've bumped the tyre into the curb and you've cracked the rim and damaged the tyre, or you've got a bit of a squeak and it turns out that you've picked something up on the road and it's damaged the brake disc, and then I'm telling you, okay, it's 8k for the brakes. You're like, if you'd told me brakes were this expensive, I wouldn't have bought the car. And I've had that conversation. And
really?
This kind of thing is, to tell people the cost of ownership is something I wasn't born knowing to do that, and I wasn't trained to do that. It's just from experience. And like I say, I've had that conversation where, people said, if I'd have known that, I wouldn't have bought the car. I didn't know or think.
Yeah.
It's difficult. You'll be the same with what you do. And most people that are professional in some field will be the same, where you have certain things in your industry that are the norm, that are pretty. Well, of course, everyone can do that because they have to. So you're surrounded by people all day, every day that can do that thing. Then when you get someone from the outside, you forget to tell them about. You'll tell them about the laws of media transmission and all this stuff that you have to do, communication regulations and all of that, because that's what you teach and you're used to having to teach that. But to try and explain to somebody how to clip a audio clip and find where the start and end is and stuff, you'd think, well, why would I tell him that?
This is I get the exact same things going on. We're doing a podcast, and I always say to people, why don't you podcast and do a podcast? It's great. It's fun. How long does it take? And not going into the details of, sure, we sit down here, we record for 45, 50 minutes and we walk away. Okay. So 45, 50 minutes. Now we got another 3 hours of stuff, and it could be done quicker. There's ways to do it quicker, and when I do the automated ways, because every now and then, and I love the guys at Adobe, so hats off to Adobe, because I use all Adobe products with this podcasting. And there are some automated tools, and I do occasionally load everything in and give it a try, and end up going back to Audition and doing it, pretty much manual, because it works well, and it could save you time. But I'm not 100% happy with so it's like 80% there, not 100%.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny because again, we're posting up some content, and my Dean's tips of the day, because I post these up every day. And so you got to record them. They're short. They're 30 seconds, but you got to record them. They've all got subtitles. They got to have a title, and they got to be, in the right way. And then you got to load them.
Yeah.
And so, are they quick to do? Yeah. but if it doesn't take me 15 minutes per one by recording, and then maybe 20 every time, and then can you sustain it? And that's where I guess where it comes back in with you guys in the garage, because you're fixing stuff, but you're sustaining it, and you can do it over and over and over. And I think that's the problem with a lot of people and lots of things they do is, you can do it once. You might even be able to do it for a week. You can do it twice. But can you continually, constantly, in a sustainable way that's consistent, produce that thing or do that task? And some people just say, you know what, it's not worth it. I'll pay someone to do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just the thing of, if you sat me down and, said to me, okay, I need your help to edit one of our podcasts, which, it's no secret, because the fact that they're out there on the internet means everyone must know that I don't do it. 'Cause they wouldn't, the first one would have made it, but you might show me the things quickly and basically just because you do that.
Yeah.
But there would be certain things on there you probably can't think of now that you think, everyone, you just take for granted that everybody knows. So me and DJ have this conversation quite often where we'll say, why didn't they know that? And you think, actually, yeah, of course. You know what? Who taught them that? Because if I'm not trying to be sort of stereotypical here, but my granddad would mess around in his garage and the shed all day, every day, constantly. And
I think those granddads of a certain age, that's all they did.
Right? And he'd just show me. He'd take stuff apart just for the sake of it, and he'd show me what had gone wrong with it, and he'd show me how to, invariably break it worse, but he would show me how to do something with it. And then we'd just build stuff for the sake. I remember walking into school. If I'd been to my grandparents at the weekend, I'd walk into school on a Monday morning. It was massive. It used to feel big, probably not this big, but I was like 5 or 6. Like wooden boards that we'd made circuits on that would have like a magnet that would flick on and off and fire a ball bearing, and then the fans would go and a light would come on and a buzzer and all that stuff. And I'd carry it in school to show my teacher, and he'd be like, what do I want that for? But because my granddad had done science at school, I'm like 5 years old or whatever, but we was making stuff all the time, constantly making stuff. And I remember being the same, and I remember saying to him, I don't know, Granddad, because he's asking me about, he'd say something like, go and get the Phillips. What's that? Who's Philip? Does he live next door? He means a screwdriver. But I didn't know but he's always been around people that knew, and you lose connection with people that don't understand. So then you miss that bit of information. Yeah. So if you don't prompt yourself to give yourself, it's like, people often say there's never a stupid question. And people don't mean that when they say it. I don't think. People think, why have you asked that? That's stupid. But I like to try and flip that and think, there's never too much information. You can always apologize. I'm not trying to patronize, and as we'd say in the UK, I'm not trying to teach you how to suck eggs, but the brake pads wear out, and the back of the brake pad is metal, and when that touches the brake disc, it will grind into the disc, and it's harder than the disc, so the disc will need to be replaced. Now, a lot of people might know that. Some people won't. So then to go over that information and say, so if that happens and we don't change the 500 dirham brake pads now, we might have to pay 3,000 in 2 weeks because we need discs. I'd rather somebody come back to me and say, I knew that. Of course I'm going to change them. You idiot. You think I am stupid? Than not tell them.
Yeah.
And then them say, oh, well, if they're okay, if they're working now, I'll take it away. And then, you have it on the Jeep, right? You've got the little metal tag in the brake pads that makes a groove in the disc and makes a sound. That's okay. But if that happens consistently, you end up wearing the discs out. And if you don't tell people, you've not done them a service. And so I always try to give people more information than they probably want, because then we might have given them one little thing for them to think, I'm not going to buy that car actually, because I don't fancy paying 2,000 dirhams every couple of years for a major service. Take a Golf. Everyone knows I love them. If it's got DSG gearbox, which 99% of them have now here, telling somebody that every 60,000 kilometers you're going to spend 2,000 to 3,000 dirhams on a gearbox service.
Really?
That's, some people do 30,000, 40,000 a year.
Yeah.
So every 18 months to 2 years, they've got to find 3K, and that's just the gearbox. That, at 60K, that it's going to want the regular engine service, and you can easily be 4,000 dirhams in after 60k, and 60k is about what brake pads last.
All right,
depending on how you drive it. So you might need brake pads.
Oh, man, so you're looking at
tires.
You're looking at 12,000.
So you can easily get up to 10k every.
And if you're still paying it off,
yeah.
Yikes.
So if someone brings a Golf in, great car, fantastic, really cheap to own, fantastic on fuel, which is becoming a concern here. Fuel's expensive now to what it was. It's over double what it was when I moved here.
Man, I
dread to think what it was when you moved.
Days when we moved here.
Just catching buckets of it out of the ground for free.
Those were good days.
But like, you have to tell people, because if you don't, that can be the difference between them having a car that they own and enjoy and having a car that they hate and they'll never drive again.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't have everyone driving Pajeros. People need to be able to drive decent cars.
Pajeros are on the way out anyway, right? They're
thankfully.
I don't see any new ones at all on the road these days.
No, they stopped making them, didn't they?
Yeah. So I don't think there's any backlog sitting anywhere because I'm just not seeing them.
Tell you the effect on climate change that's going to have. Yeah. Positive news. Positive news.
Nothing against the Pajero, and I know that Colin Thomas still makes quite a nice side hustle off hawking those things. I was standing beside one the other day.
I don't believe he makes any money. I think he genuinely just likes doing it because he's got some sort of weird
obsession
with them.
With Pajeros and paint thickness.
Yeah.
It's like, how thick's the paint?
Those paint thickness things. Honestly. Colin understands how to use one.
He's obsessed, though.
Yeah, and he understands how to use one, and I get it because then he can sell it. Colin likes to do business. Colin likes to do business with people he knows or might see. And Dubai's a small place, right? Everyone knows what's happening. So you see somebody and sell them a car, you might bump into them in 3 weeks' time in the mall.
You're going to.
So I get it, but the amount of people that, you know, to me, especially here and in any big city in the world that has a lot of shopping malls with car parks and stuff like that, saying someone's had their car painted, especially if it can be explained as, well, yeah, which I'll get on to something about that, but yeah, I've had it painted. Someone opened the door onto it, and I love my car, so I got it painted. That's no different to saying, oh, you've had your oil changed. Yeah, I know, it's a used car. I've changed my oil. So, you know, if you were to say to me, look, Glenn, I'm thinking of selling the Jeeps. Should I get them painted? First thing I would say is no, because it's more honest if there's marks on them.
Yeah.
If a 15, 16-year-old Wrangler is presented to me for a pre-purchase inspection and it's immaculate, I don't need the thickness checker. I know it's been painted, especially when it's got 300,000 kilometers on it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So that paint thickness detector can stay on Temu or Amazon, and I don't need to waste 5 pence on it. But if you said, you know, I really fancy having it look spot on before I sell it, and I'd say, okay, we'll do it. Here's the price. But before we do anything, you need to take pictures of every panel, and then you need to print those off or keep them on a file on your phone, and then you need to save them and keep them with the invoice for the repair. So then when someone comes round, like Colin, with his paint thickness, say, oh, this has had full one side painted, you've had a big accident. You can say, no, I haven't. Here's the pictures of front wing, rear wing, front door, rear door, sill, roof rail, whatever it may be, bonnet, boot. And there's a picture of the before. Here's the invoice for the after. First thing they're going to say is, that's a great price. I'll go to Powerworks. But the second thing they're going to say is, oh, so it has, because people train and get qualified to fix cars.
Yeah.
Just like people train and get qualified to fix your plumbing at the house. People get trained and qualified to teach communication theory. And painting a door is no different to changing oil. To a paint and body technician, that's painting a door is probably the first thing they learn. Just like changing the oil on an engine is probably the first thing as a mechanic you learn, really, to do on your own. You learn other things, but the first thing you do on your own is probably that. So saying someone's had the door painted is just like saying they've had their oil changed to me. Now, if they've had the door painted and all the hinges have obviously been manipulated and there's paint missing off the bolts and there's no history of this accident and the current owner doesn't know why it's been painted and it's a bit weird, but they've owned it from new, then they're hiding something. That's the time to get underneath and see if anything's bent. Make sure all the electronics are right. Make sure everything's working. But painting a car is painting a car. It's just maintenance. It's just paint and body maintenance. So I have zero. Obviously, we make money from doing it, but I have zero issue. I mean, you've had your Jeep painted because there's some damage to the clear coat.
Yeah. It's actually starting to come off again on that part. I was looking at the other day.
About 6 years now.
Yeah, must be starting to crack a little bit.
It's done probably about the same as what it did the first time.
Yeah, I kind of went, oh, really? I'm looking at it going, oh, we'll see.
Yeah, but you see that's what I'm saying. If you were to bring the car to me and say I want to sell it, I'd tell you not to bother.
Yeah. Well, that's what I look at. I just say, I'm going to leave it, and at some point, if we're going to,
and when the RTA pick you up on it,
Yeah.
then that's a different story.
Yeah.
But they're very unlikely to do that and penalise someone when they're selling the car.
Yeah.
The next time it gets renewed, they might do, and they might put it as an advisory on the test. But
Exactly.
they're not going to. Somebody let's say somebody's selling the car for 20,000 dirhams, and they know it's a transfer because it's a transfer test. They're not going to then fail it for faded paint.
No.
They might be advisory. They have got common sense. You can have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
And then the person buying it, his eyes open to the fact that the next test is going to fail because of it. So you are going to have to deal with it.
Exactly. The Chinese cars, man, it's around. Now the U.S. is making it harder and harder for Chinese products to come in. Canada's not far behind. I don't know what they're doing in the U.K. I imagine they're the same.
I think the U.K. missed the boat on it. I know Germany did. I was reading an article on that this morning. I'm trying to find it on Flipboard now, but I can't find it again. And then my daughter's sick and off school today, so she's
what are you doing here? You should be at home with your daughter.
No, we're good. We've got childcare. We're fine.
I dragged you into the podcast.
No, we're fine. But she was then decided that she wanted to play a game on my phone, and I was halfway through. I found it. There it is. I also read that Canada is really struggling with stolen cars.
Oh man, there was an article today on Canadian Broadcasting Corporation talking about someone who had their Escalade stolen out of their driveway. And where did it turn up? Here.
The one they tracked here. Yeah,
it's here.
I've seen that.
It was on a used car lot.
I've seen that, and there's nothing they could do.
No.
Yeah.
But no, for sure. We've been looking just at places we like to go, and 270 car thefts already this year, and the numbers are horrific. It's to the point that we've picked up a little used Wrangler.
Yeah.
And my son is having a kill switch put in place, and because he said, look, it's got to be done. And he gave me the heads up of where they're going to put the piece, but he said, you got to have a kill switch.
See, car security in the UK was a real problem to the point where some companies will no longer insure Land Rovers.
I would imagine.
And that in the big cities is now on the down because rents are so expensive. People are living in their cars instead. So you're not going to get your car nicked because you're living in it. It's ridiculous. Like what you're supposed to do. One of the things. This is where this sort of thing is where I think AI would be well used, because we have cars here where, and I know two separate incidences of this with different showrooms, but two incidences where showrooms had a vehicle that they bought as a US North American spec that they then sold. They've sold it to someone who walked in the showroom, so I like that, and they bought it. They've then owned that car for a year, taken it to the RTA to re-register it, and the RTA have captured the vehicle and said that's on the Interpol register as stolen. Because the time that it's taken to get through and red tape, they've managed to purchase, sell, and register it twice.
Crazy.
So then let's say you go and buy a Range Rover. So you go and buy a Range Rover that's 500,000 dirhams used, top of the range, everything on it, bells and whistles, champagne cooler in the back, everything. Go and buy it from a showroom, it's come from Canada. You then go and register it in a year, but it's stolen. You ain't getting your money back. No. Your insurance doesn't cover you for that. The showroom is probably going to go out of business if they have to give you that back.
Yeah.
Like, where do you go for that?
Yeah, you're done for. I know. That's the cars.
You'd think it'd be so much quicker though now. I don't understand why it's so slow.
Yeah, I think it's my thought is there's too many electronic systems that don't speak to each other.
Yeah.
And so by the time it gets cleared and put up onto another one and up onto another one and up onto another one, finally it's there. And so if everyone's using the same system, it works really well. But no, everyone's.
What I don't understand is things like Bugattis, which is VW. Let's not put any frills right. Bugatti is a Volkswagen Group entity. If you take a Bugatti, that Bugatti knows when it needs a service, and it knows that, and it pings and tells everyone that it needs a service, and then it has to go to Bugatti for a service. All these things can be operated in a way where the vehicle can't be used without it being done.
Yeah, I think, and it should. It should all be enabled.
Why can it not be that no matter the age of the vehicle from now, obviously you can't do it on an older car, but all the vehicles that are produced now, why can the government not put on there something along the lines of, because they've all got SOS buttons and they've all got, auto drive and self-drive, and they've all got these GPS systems on them. So why can't it be just like you have to have so many airbags in a car now, and just like you have to have seat belts? Why can't they make it that there has to be a function where if you have your car stolen, let's say I go and buy myself a car and I buy myself a Golf, and then in 6 months' time it's stolen, I should be able to ring. Obviously, I report it to the police, and obviously I report it to whatever local authority you do, your insurance and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But everyone's got an app on the phone to start their car now. Why can't you just go into there and just like you can on a bank card and just put car stolen?
Yeah.
And then you have to reconfirm it 3 or 4 times, and you might have to put a PIN number in so that your kids can't do it by accident. Yeah. Then that's it. Then the factory can just immobilize it.
Communicate it, as you say, through the automaker. The automaker then is the connection across the world. Boom. I don't know why. Maybe they just haven't thought of it.
Well,
that's probably it.
Then edit this out, because we'll be able to make some money. We can't make any money if it goes into the public domain. But no, I don't understand it. It seems like you say, things people try and make, and it's just to justify people's jobs.
Yeah.
That gets rid of a load of people doing something, I understand, but they're all sat in meetings trying to get through till dinner time anyway. They're not actually doing anything. Like, come on. I don't understand that. That's such a simple thing. That's
why it's not being done. It is so simple.
Yeah.
And it's, they've already tried one angle. Police agencies around the world talking to police agencies, doesn't work. But the automaker is much more linear.
Yeah.
So it's, the North American automaker, let's say Ford, let's use Ford. Ford talking to Ford Middle East, Ford talking to Ford Europe. That's much easier.
Yeah. Listen.
Because they already talk to each other.
General Motors, I think it's called Star. Is it Star on General Motors?
Where OnStar, I don't know which,
something like that.
I don't know which company that is, though.
It's General Motors, I'm sure it is. It's Chevrolet. We've had it before where we had a customer that had lost his key for his it's a GMC Yukon, I think. Lost his key. And he said, I've got the Star thing. If I call them, they'll open the car.
Imagine.
Right?
So there we go.
And this is years ago. This is 4 or 5 years ago. They can open the car with it.
You call your OnStar, then they disable it and tell you where it is, and away we go. Unless they put the whole vehicle into a Faraday bag, it's...
Oh, yeah, but I mean,
it's not going to happen.
It's just,
Yeah.
I don't understand why that's not been done.
Yeah.
I don't understand it at all. Tracking a car shouldn't be that difficult. It should be that...
I guess if the thieves have managed to pull out that...
Yeah, but you integrate it to the engine control unit.
Put it somewhere.
You integrate it to
its own battery.
Yeah,
take that. Yeah, there's all sorts of ways.
If it's part of the engine control unit...
Then you can't do it. It's done.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, this, like you say...
This is the conversation we need to have off air.
Yeah. Make some money.
Yeah. Glenn Power, Powerworks Garage. I'm James Piecowye. You are listening to the Powerworks Podcast. If you're on 100.3, get in touch. Let us know what you think. If you're watching, listening, however, across any of the mediums that you're using to do so, thumbs up, like, subscribe. Let us know what you think, and we will be doing it all again really, really soon. Glenn, thank you very much.
Thank you.